This is a 2020 Specialized S-Works Roubaix, a bike designed to conquer the cobbles of the race it is named after, Paris-Roubaix, and which in 2019 it did just that, thanks to a wonderful ride by Philippe Gilbert. Let's start with the price, and the Roubaix range starts at £2,600 with plenty of choices to pick from, but I've been spoilt by riding this range topping model costing a quite staggering £9,500. But it is dripping in the latest top end equipment, so carbon everything, carbon wheels, SRAM's latest red E-tap wired group set with hydraulic disc brakes and even a power meter included. And this size 56 on the scales weighs 7.4 kilograms, so pretty light for this sort of bike. Fundamentally, the bike carries a lot of key features from the previous generation Roubaix, but there are some significant updates. We've still got no future shock, a unique spring inside a cartridge and head tube that provides 20mm or 2 centimeters of suspension travel, but it's now been improved. It's got damping inside, so it's smoother and more controlled over big impacts, and most importantly, you have a dial on the top to lock it out or open up as you want. So that's a neat upgrade. You've got a new pavé seat post with a new seat tube that lowers the clamp by 65mm from the top tube to increase the amount of bending available through the seat post. And then we have increased tyre clearance. So it will now take up to a 33mm wide tyre, so plenty of options for going wider if you want to maximise comfort on this bike. It's a full carbon frame and fork. It weighs less than the old bike, now 900 grams claimed for a size 56, and it's also more aerodynamic claimed than the previous version. They say it's more aero than the current tarmac, which is not a slow bike, and as aero as the original Mark 1 Venge aero bike. So quite impressive claims. And you can see the aero influence on the bike, starting at the front with the aero-shaped fork blades, the profile down tube, the new seat tube and pavé seat post, and of course the dropped seat stays, which is a common feature on new high-end road bikes coming out in 2020. It's a really clean looking bike with some nice attention to detail. So we've got a full internal cable routing. Well, no cables on the bike because of the wireless group set. So we've got a blanking port on the down tube where the cables would normally go. The brake hoses are internally routed inside the fork and inside the down tube, and I experienced no rattling when I'm riding, so that's all good. We've got disc brakes as you'd expect with 12mm through axles, and the axles have this flush fitting design, so no ugly levers to protrude, and don't forget your multi-tool, because if you get a puncture you need a multi-tool to get those out, so remember your multi-tool. Flat mount calipers as you expect as well, and one really nice sensible detail on this bike is the threaded bottom bracket. We're starting to see threaded bottom brackets come back and replace press fit even on high-end bikes like this, and Specialized is one of the few brands really leading the charge with the re-emergence of threaded bottom brackets. So a nice detail there. Now, style is totally subjective. I mean, look at my outfit, I'm hardly the most stylish person in the world, but I don't think it's the best looking bike in the world at the moment. They have tried to make the new Future Shock more seamless and integrated, but it still looks a bit ugly. Got this big top cap, and you've got this kind of spacer section up there, which looks a bit janky really compared to some other more streamlined bikes. And then we've got this section here, which I know is functional, that's for the lower seat clamp, but it's just a bit of a jarring difference between that profile and that profile there. They could have made it more seamless, flowing into the seat tube, so they could have done a bit of a better job in packaging the bike overall. But let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Is it a good looking bike, or is it an ugly bike? I'd love to know your thoughts. As you'd expect for a £9,500 bike, it is well spec'd with some very nice equipment. I won't go into too much detail because I'm not sure how many people can afford a bike like this, but I'll just touch on some observations from having this bike for the last few months. Now, part of the reason for the really high cost of this bike are these Roval CLX 32 wheels, which cost an absolute fortune on their own, but they're very nice wheels. They're very stiff, very light, got a nice wide profile, so good for wide tyres. They're tubeless ready as well, so you can get rid of the in tubes, which I would do personally. And this low profile rim shape gives a bit of an aero advantage without the compromise of a deeper section wheel you might find on a tarmac or a Venge in windy conditions. A definite highlight of this bike is a brand new SRAM red E-tap access group set launched about a year ago, and which offers superb shifting and high quality brakes. We've got a new 12 speaker set with a tiny 10-2 sprocket and smaller chain rings than you get on a conventional group set. And the basic idea is to put more emphasis on shifting at the back. So you spend more time on the big ring, which does actually work, and you get a smoother transition from the first 7 sprockets on the cassette. And I found it worked extremely well here on my rolling roads in the Cotswolds. Overall range is wider than the comparable conventional group set, with 1033 offering easier gears on the steeper climbs and a higher gear on the high speed sections. You do find yourself spending more time in the big ring, which is a bonus. I can't think of any downside of that at all. And when it comes to shifting at the front, it's much easier because they reduce the gap between the 2 chainrings, so much easier shifting all round. And shift quality is excellent. It's nice and precise, never missed a gear change. It's fast, but it's not quite as quick as Shimano Dura Di2. I mean, I'm really splitting hairs here, but when you ride 2 bikes side by side, you can tell it's fractionally slower than Dura's. It's also occasionally a little bit noisier than Dura's, but for the most part, it's a very nice, high quality group set. The disc brakes as well are very powerful, really nice lever feel. Perhaps not as much modulation as Dura's as well, but again, I'm splitting hairs. I do like the ergonomics of SRAM compared to Dura's. I like the way the shift buttons work. And with the new app, you can totally configure how it all works. And another bonus is you can easily remove the batteries and take them indoors and charge them, which you can't do with a Dura bike so easily. And the other benefit, buy some spare batteries, do a long adventure, put a couple in your pocket or backpack, and they run out of charge. Another bonus on this group set, and another reason for that high price, is you get a power meter on a crank set. Very neatly integrated, easy to use. I've calibrated it with power tap pedals and a Wahoo trainer, and it's accurate and consistent. Works with the app, works with a Wahoo computer, so power ready to go from the shop. Last couple of points, I love the new power saddle. I'm a real fan of these short stubby saddles, and these tyres, these turbo cotton tyres, are lovely. Really supple, really fast ride feel. However, they're not super durable, they wear out quite quickly, and they're a little bit prone to punctures, but the tan sidewall looks good and still looks good several months after testing in some quite grotty conditions. So yeah, thumbs up to all the equipment on the bike, which all helps to provide top end performance and that low 7.4 kilogram weight. So how does it ride? Well, very well indeed, as you might expect. It doesn't fail to disappoint at all. This bike is all about comfort. Comfort is where it really excels. And that's the main reason for buying a bike like the Roubaix, is you want the maximum smoothest ride compared to the Tarmac or the Venge. And it's all down to the Future Shock, the new Pavé seat post, and the wide tyres the bike will now take. But the Future Shock is probably the biggest game changer on this bike compared to other endurance bikes. And while you might think it's a gimmick, it actually does work. Simply put, suspension provides a smoother ride, whether it's the Arenberg cobbles or just your local rough roads like here in the Cotswolds. 20mm might not sound like much, but it's enough to just take the edge off jarring impacts or the rough surface of tarmacs that we have to deal with, even light gravel, which your bike can deal with the wide tyres it now takes. The improved Future Shock is a big upgrade over the previous version. There's damping there now, so it's a smoother, more controlled action, and you can also lock it out if you want, if you're sprinting or going up steep climbs, you don't want it moving around unnecessarily. But for the most part, as a light rider, I left it open the whole time. I didn't find it bobbing unnecessarily on climbs or sprinting, so I left it open and just enjoyed the benefits of that 20mm of front suspension. Seated comfort from the new Pavé seat post and that lower seat clamp is really good too, and it's an equal to like the Trek Domani or the Canyon Endurace as other examples of bikes that have bendy seat posts. So very good balance feel from front to back, which you want on a bike. You don't want that really hard front end or hard back end. You want both front and back to be balanced and work together in unison to provide a smooth ride across all terrain. The handling is perfect for long distance rides where you don't want that really aggressive geometry of a race bike like the Tarmac or the Venge, and indeed it's a lot more dialed back than a Tarmac, not quite as pinpointy, not quite as agile as that bike, a lot more relaxed. The steering's quite measured and it just looks after you on a long ride, which is what this bike is designed to do. Long rides, big miles, and look after you. And even on light gravel, with a change of tyres, it will handle a bit of light gravel action as well. So you have that longer wheelbase and slacker angles just for looking after you on all terrain really. And not only is it the comfiest endurance bike I've yet tested, It's also the fastest, the quickest endurance bike. In fact, Specialized says the aero improvements on this bike make it faster, more aero than a tarmac, which is not a slouch at all. So it's very impressive. And a tarmac is one of my personal favourite bikes of the last few years. So it's a bike that manages to combine impressive smoothness and comfort with fantastic speed. And it makes it a really compelling all-round package. How does it compare to key rivals in this category? Well, in terms of smoothness, it's definitely a smoother ride than the Candale Synapse, the Canyon Endurace or the Giant Defy, to name a few examples. But there's one bike with a few tricks up its sleeves that might be a good comparison for this bike, and that's a brand new Trek Domani. Now, I've not ridden this new version which launched last year with bigger tyre clearance and other neat features on it, but hopefully I'll get to ride it this year and see how it compares to the later Roubaix, because I think that's a bike that might be a good match for this bike. If you're looking for that blend of comfort, of speed and big tyre clearance. In conclusion then, this new Roubaix offers a superb blend of speed and comfort, which few other bikes in the category can rival. In this build, it's a stunning performance bike, but there are more affordable options in the Roubaix range, and I'll list a few of my picks in the description below with links to retailers where you can buy the bikes. So yeah, it's a very impressive bike. I've been riding it for the last few months and absolutely enjoyed my time with it, but it's going back now. And time to hand over to you and hear what you think. So let me know what you think of this new Roubaix down in the comment section below. Is it a bike on your shortlist this year, or are you looking at other rivals in this category? I'd love to hear your thoughts. But that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again next time.